listening to Gareth Parker on 6PR.
My next guest is a mountaineer, Steve Plain. We spoke to him last year. He's embarking on a heck of a trip. Steve Plain, good morning. How are you? Where are you?
G'day, Gareth. Currently just in Mendoza in Argentina, having just finished our second climb on Aconcagua.
How did it go?
It was absolutely fantastic. It was my first time over here in Argentina, and climbing the highest mountain in South America was absolutely incredible. We got up much quicker than we expected, and so actually back just in Mendoza enjoying some steak and red wine, a few of the local delicacies before heading on to the next climb.
Nothing like celebrating your achievements along the way.
Absolutely, you've got to celebrate all the small steps.
Yeah, well, and the big ones too. Steve, you're 2 down, 5 to go. Just tell us about the start of this process for people who remember our chat last year. Just explain what it is you're setting out to do here.
That's right. So my goal is what I've called Project 7 in 4, which, for listeners who may have recalled from last year, I'm aiming to try and climb the 7 summits, which is the highest mountain on each of the 7 continents, in under 4 months. So I left Sydney back on January 7 and went straight to Antarctica, where we did our first climb down there on Mount Vincent, it's called, and we summited there on the 16th of January, and from there came straight up to South America, where we climbed Aconcagua, our second climb.
And how is the body feeling after sort of two in? I mean, has everything worked okay so far?
Yeah, so far everything's been going better than I could have hoped for. Antarctica was going from the Australian summer to straight into Antarctica was a bit of a shock to the system.
Sure.
Down there we had temperatures down as low as about minus 32, so that definitely took some getting used to. But that climb went incredibly well. We were very lucky with the weather, and since coming across to Argentina, Aconcagua is actually a much higher mountain, so it's 6,900 metres, 6,962. So we've had to take a bit of time just to acclimatise to the high altitude, but so far feeling great.
Have you had any medical issues or anything like that?
Touch wood, so far nothing. Minor things you get in the mountains with congestion and sore throats and bits and pieces, but overall managing all the medical side of things very, very well. Okay,
so just tell us about the mountain you've just scaled. I've messed up the name of it. You pronounce it for me.
Aconcagua.
Aconcagua. Tell us about Aconcagua.
So it's a mountain in the Andes ranges over here in South America. So as I mentioned, the highest in South America, it's 6,962 metres. The overall trip required us a 2-day trek to get into base camp, and then we had a number of days progressively climbing higher up the mountain and coming back lower to sleep, which is our preferred method for acclimatisation, called climb high, sleep low. So I had a number of days where we climb up above Camp 1, come back down to base camp to sleep, climb up above Camp 2, come back down, then had a rest day and pushed right to the summit. And summit day was absolutely spectacular. It was actually reasonably cold, about minus 18, but there was a bit of wind around which actually made it feel much colder. But we climbed from Camp 2 to the summit in 6 hours and got all the way back to base camp in that one day, which was absolutely brilliant.
There's an unbelievable picture published in the West Australian yesterday of you up at the summit. It's, beautiful blue skies, a little bit of white cloud. It just looks unbelievably spectacular.
Yeah, looks can be deceiving. It was absolutely spectacular. Up on the summit, where we're most exposed to the wind, it was actually quite cold.
I'm sure.
So we only spent about 15 minutes up there trying to get a few photos and just enjoying the view the best we could. Before we had to get moved again, just to keep the body temperature, the core temperature up.
And so, what is you've come back down as you said you're in Argentina at the moment, enjoying a bit of a break. Where do we go next?
I'm actually slightly ahead of schedule, and it's sort of counterintuitive when we're doing a world record. You probably want to be ahead of schedule, but towards the end of this trip, I'm going to Denali in winter, and so we don't want to do that too early because they'll get incredibly cold, and also Everest. And the dates on Everest are the summit window there is quite narrow, so there's not too much point in pushing ahead too far ahead of schedule. So what we're actually doing is heading across to Chile to climb a mountain called Ojos del Salado, which is actually the second highest over here. So we're doing that just to fill in a bit of time before we go across to the third of the 7 summits, which is which is Kilimanjaro in Africa.
So you're just squeezing an extra one in there for fun?
Just for fun, yeah. Try and keep the acclimatisation up.
The 2 summits that you've scaled so far, how do they rank in terms of the relative difficulty to what's yet to come?
The 2 so far, Vincent is technically a relatively easy climb, but as I mentioned, you've just got the severe cold to deal with down there. And Aconcagua is actually the second highest out of all 7 summits. So it's the second highest out of 7 summits and the highest mountain in the world outside of the Himalayas. So that, while again not overly technical climbing, the altitude is a big challenge on that one. So thankfully we've got acclimatised really well and got up that. So I'm expecting the next few being Kilimanjaro in Africa, Kartan's Pyramid in Indonesia, and then down to Kosciuszko in Australia, and also Elbrus in Russia. Expecting all those to go relatively smoothly, and then the big challenges will come at the end with Denali and Everest. Yeah,
okay. So the job is still very much ahead of you. Just remind people, Steve, why you're doing this.
Yeah, most definitely the job's still ahead of us. It's early days. There's still a very long way to go. But doing it to try and raise awareness and funds for 2 causes, which I'm passionate about, being surf lifesaving in Western Australia and Spinal Cure Australia. So I actually had an accident myself down at Cottesloe Beach a few years back and broke my neck, and the work that volunteer surf lifesavers did was definitely instrumental in my positive outcome after that accident. So trying to sort of give back to that, and also through my injury and fortunately my accident, I was very lucky that I did actually recover, but a lot of people with my type of injury don't and end up with lifelong paralysis. So that's where Spinal Cure Australia are doing some amazing work and research to try and actually find a cure for paralysis and get people out of wheelchairs and walking again, which is absolutely incredible.
Well, so far so good. Keep charging. Stay safe, please, most importantly. But it's great to speak to you, Steve. We'll catch up with you again along the journey, I'm sure.
Will do. Thank you very much, Gareth. And, yeah, definitely look forward to chatting again.
Good on you, mate. Steve Flane. Quite amazing effort, isn't it? 2 down, 5 to go. The job is ahead of him, as Steve just said. But so far, so good. Ahead of schedule. Imagine that.